It's time for Northwestern Outdoors Radio, the award-winning show that covers fishing, hunting, and all sorts of outdoor recreation here in the Great Northwest. Northwestern Outdoors is brought to you every week by Max Lure Company, a legacy of innovation since 1969, by Loophole Optics, America's optical authority, by Camp Chef, the way to cook outdoors,
by Wallowa County.
Nature is on display in Northeast Oregon, and by The Real News, your fishing resource. Also by Shilo Inns and Suites, providing you with affordable excellence. And by Mardon Resort, the place for fishing, hunting, and more in Eastern Washington. And now, it's time to head outside with your host, John Cruz.
We start off the show by welcoming some new listeners tuning in to our flagship station, 560 KPQ in Wenatchee, at a brand new time of 6 to 7 p.m. every Friday, which is perfect for some of you looking for ideas on what to do outdoors this weekend. This month marks our 7th year on the airwaves, and it all started with the great news talk station in the Apple capital of the world that gave a guy like me with no radio background a chance. Fast forward to today, and we are airing on 55 stations in 4 states. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. The good Lord certainly has a sense of humor to make something like this happen, and it just goes to prove that in America, anything is possible. This week on the show, we're taking you to the Dalles. It's located in north central Oregon in the beautiful Columbia River Gorge, but doesn't get a whole lot of press for the great outdoor recreational opportunities it has to offer. That's a shame, because there's a bunch to do here if you're an outdoors enthusiast, and for the majority of the next hour, we'll be highlighting some of those fun activities. We'll start off by talking to local fishing guide Walleye Willie Ross. As you might imagine, Willie likes to fish for walleye, but there's all sorts of other angling opportunities on the Columbia River near the Dalles too, including fishing for salmon, steelhead, bass, and sturgeon. Walleye Willie is going to run through the 4 seasons of fishing near the Dalles later in this show. Getting off the water, we'll saddle up on our bicycle and check out some of the great places to pedal around here, to include a riverfront trail in the Dalles, several rail trails in the immediate vicinity, and some wonderful road cycling options too. Chad Sperry, a local cycling fanatic and owner of Breakaway Promotions, will be telling you all about it. We've got outdoor news for you that will get you howling, since it's all about wolves in the Northwest. And then we'll talk to Bambi Foy at the Columbia Gorge Discovery Center about the wonderful raptor education program she has there, and about some of the different raptors you can see when you visit the Columbia River Gorge. If you're looking for a place to stay, we can help you with that too. Our headquarters was the Shilo Inn in the Dalles. This is a great hotel with magnificent views of the river and the nearby dam. General Manager Heather Baker will tell you more about this fine property, and then we'll wrap things up with some upcoming events covering Halloween hikes and fine outdoors food around the Northwest you won't want to miss. Speaking of food, do you like a good steak? Well, with beef prices going through the roof, venison might actually be a more cost-effective alternative. David Sparks has got more about that on this week's edition of Sportsman Spotlight, brought to you every week by Shilo Inn and Suites.
Sticker shock at the meat counter, so it's time to head for the woods. David Sparks, Sportsman Spotlight.
Meat Department on 16th and State. This is Leif. How can I help you?
Help me out. What's one of your best steaks?
Well, we have the prime bone-in ribeye, and we have prime boneless ribeye.
What are the prices?
Let me look here. Hold on one second.
Thank you.
It is $17.99 for bone-in prime ribeye and $19.99 for boneless prime ribeye.
Is that per pound?
Yes.
What? Okay, if you're like me and you're looking for a delicious steak, upon hearing that, or seeing it at your local grocery store, you might get a little bit of a sticker shock, don't you think? I called good friend Tommy Allen, who's an avid hunter, and put a question to him. With the price of beef at an all-time high, do you think that we're going to see more hunters in the woods going after muleys and elk?
That's a great question, David, because that's a question that myself and my buddies sat around and talked about, and we're definitely, it's a different game this year. We used to always buy a quarter beef here or there, but with beef prices, we're going to be doing the same thing. We're going to be trying to get a deer down and an elk down and just get venison through the freezer, and that's a concern we have is how many other people are doing that. The game's changed a little bit, and right now, if you go to the grocery store, a pound of hamburger, it's expensive, and deer tags roughly around $40, and so you gotta think of all your stuff you need to go hunting, but that's a cheap investment to get some deer meat.
Or elk. This is David Sparks for Sportsman Spotlight.
Confused by so many national brand hotel reward programs? Blackout dates, expiration dates, different points for different hotel rewards and gimmicks? At Shilo Inn Suites Hotels, it's simple. No blackout dates for any rewards stay. If we have a room available, it's yours. Hi, I'm Mark Hemstreet, owner of Shilo Inns. As a rewards member, you'll receive free room upgrades, a dedicated personal agent to help book your stay, points that don't expire, points that can be used for free nights at any one of our beautiful hotels or donations to your local school or free airline tickets, and much more. And as a special bonus, you'll earn 100 free bonus points just for signing up. From your very first stay, you receive free Wi-Fi, free breakfast at most locations. The kids stay free. We don't charge ridiculous resort or parking fees, and we're dog-friendly. Shilo Inns, affordable excellence. American-owned and proud of it.
Looking to leave the world behind? Then escape to Northeast Oregon's Alpine country, Wallowa County. With over 560 miles of trails and 60 high mountain lakes, the Eagle Cap Wilderness beckons you to explore. The deep glacial waters of Wallowa Lake call you to fish for record kokanee in the Hells Canyon, North America's deepest river canyon, lures you to experience the wild waters of Snake River. Wake up to the world of Wallowa County. Your morning begins at WallowaCountyChamber.com.
Welcome back to Northwestern Outdoors Radio. That sound you hear in the background is an electric fillet knife. We are broadcasting from one of our more unique locations we've ever broadcast from, the fish cleaning station at Mary Hill State Park. That's located just across from Biggs Junction, Oregon. And we're here with Walleye Willie Ross. He is a local fishing guide from the Dalles. And we're going to talk about basically a season of fishing that is available for you right here on the Columbia River near the Dalles. Willie, looks like you got a nice stringer of walleye today.
John, we did pretty good today. How are you doing today?
Doing fantastic. You know, a lot of folks will tell you that you can't catch walleye in September, but you've managed to figure out how to do it all year long, haven't you?
Pretty much all year, yeah. The wintertime, it gets a little bit slow sometimes, depending on the weather, but I've caught them every month of the year. You never know. You know, we did pretty good today, and a couple of days ago we did pretty good too. So we're catching fish, and, it's great eating fish.
And walleye are found all up and down the Columbia, folks, but around the Dalles in particular, without giving away any secret spot, what's the general area you're fishing for walleye?
I fish from the Dalles all the way up to Umatilla, depending on time of year, where the fish are biting best. You know, I fish Boardman area a lot in the summer. I fish between the Dalles and John Day Dam a lot in the springtime. You know, I've been doing it for 30 years, so I kind of have a little bit of idea where they're going to bite at what time.
Well, having fished with Willie, I can vouch for that. He certainly does know where they're going to bite, and I've never been skunked fishing with Willie before, and Scott Haugen, who went out with him today, also was not skunked either. When it comes to fishing for walleye in the fall, you know, where are some places people ought to consider going, and more importantly, what are some tactics for getting walleye in the boat come October?
A lot of people fish the Umatilla area, below McNary Dam is really good. I like trolling smile blades and double whammies. You can also use blade baits. The sonic blade works really well. And you just find a current seam, work that, usually from depths to 20 to 30 feet. See other boats out there, working below the dam there at McNary. It's a really great place. Down here below the John Day, the same thing. You just find where those fish are in that current seam. You work that down. You find a depth they're working at, and just stay on that.
Well, there you go. That's how to catch walleye, especially this fall. Let's talk about something else, and that would be smallmouth bass. People don't really think of bass fishing when it comes to the Columbia River, but there's a lot of bass in here. And I know even though you target walleye, you end up with a lot of bass too, don't you?
Yeah, today we caught probably 10 bass, and some pretty nice ones, And actually, September, October is a great month for bass, especially bigger ones. I've caught some, 5-6 pounders here in the fall. And, I use pretty much the same techniques. They love the sonic blade. It's an excellent lure for casting or vertical jigging. Either way, you catch a lot of fish.
Now, is this the Sonic Blade or the Sonic Bait Fish from Max Lure Company?
The Sonic Bait Fish. I call it the Sonic Blade.
Well, it does look a lot like a blade bait, folks, and it's actually a very versatile lure. Again, it's the Sonic Bait Fish from Max Lure Company if you want to check that out. And the great thing about fishing for smallmouth bass here on the Columbia in the fall is literally just about anything works. If you want to go ahead and fish spinner baits, you can catch them. If you want to go ahead and fish tubes, if you want to go ahead and drop shot, if you want to go ahead and use crankbaits or even rattle traps and smile blades too, it all works, and they're all going to catch smallmouth bass. But what most people are here for, especially in the fall, is salmon. And I know that right now the Chinook are running. A lot of people are catching Chinook salmon. The coho are coming right behind. What are some of the hot spots for the salmon fishing around the Dalles?
The hot spots are mostly the mouths of the tributaries, the Deschutes River, Klickitat, big white salmon. But there are other places you can catch fish. A little experimentation, you'll find those spots. Or fish with a guide, and he'll show you where and how.
And folks, think of fishing with a guide as an investment so you can learn how to be a better angler. I don't care who you are. If you're walking in blind to a place you've never been before, you're probably not going to be as successful as if you go with a guide, learn exactly how it's done, and then the next time you can be successful. And it's really fairly inexpensive. How much are you charging these days for a salmon fishing trip or a walleye trip?
For a guided trip, it's $175 a person. That's a full day, 8-hour day. All gear is included. All you have to bring is a fishing license and something to eat, and everything else will be included, and you'll learn how to, where to, what to use.
Again, folks, we're talking to Walleye Willie. His name is Willie Ross. We're cleaning walleye at the fish cleaning station at Mary Hill State Park, and we're about halfway through the stringer so far. We're actually going to be changing blades here, so if you start hearing some electric cutting, you're going to know what it's for. Let's go ahead and talk about another fish to fish for. We've talked salmon, we've talked bass, we've talked walleye. We haven't talked about sturgeon. I know you don't do a whole lot of sturgeon fishing, but there's an incredible sturgeon fishing, at least in terms of a catch and release fishery that's going on right now and just about any time of year up here by the Dalles.
Yeah, there is a lot of sturgeon fishing. It's usually closed by March, April. This year it lasted a little longer. And then they had a couple of seasons through the summer where they let people go out on the weekends. And, you can check out the Washington or Oregon department website, and you'll find out what days those are where you can actually keep some,
And that's becoming a very rare thing indeed, to actually go fishing for sturgeon and keep them. And anybody who fishes below Bonneville Dam or over on the Willamette River certainly knows that. So good opportunities to actually catch and keep sturgeon. Go ahead and check the regs and stick to the ODFW and Washington Department of Fish and Wildlife website for updates about that throughout the year. One other thing we won't need to talk about is steelhead, because there's so much going on here, but steelhead's right around the corner. I know you offer guided trips for that as well. Tell our listeners about that.
Yeah, the steelhead run usually starts about now. There's fish coming up, quite a few steelhead. I really won't start fishing for them in middle of October, towards the end of October. The salmon season will go through the end of October, and then I'll go up John Day River arm or up above the dams there, and we'll fish for steelhead, either trolling with plugs or we'll use jigs, shrimp and bobber and jig method. And the A run's coming through now. The B run will start coming through any day now. The B run are the bigger fish. If you want to get into a 20-plus pounder, that's the time to do it. And they're going up to Idaho, but they come in here and they'll linger around for sometimes a couple of months. So November, December, great months for steelhead fishing.
And our apologies to all those anglers tuning in from places like Lewiston and Moscow are saying, hey, you're catching our B-run fish that are heading up the Clearwater. That's right. Willie's going to be intercepting a few of those this year. We are starting to run out of time, but before we go, we better give people a website and a phone number so they can find out more about coming to the Dalles and going fishing for just about anything on the Columbia River.
Yeah, the website is walleywillie.com. My phone number is 541-993-7335, and you can call me anytime to find out what's going on or if you want to book a trip.
And I'm going to have you repeat that phone number one more time, Willie.
541-993-7335.
There you go, folks, or walleyewillie.com. That's walleyewillie.com. Go ahead and check out the website and make plans to come to the Dalles and go fishing. Walleye Willie's a great person to go fishing with. I've enjoyed my time. I know Scott Haugen enjoyed his day as well today, and you will too. Thanks as always for taking the time to tell us about things on Northwestern Outdoors Radio, Willie.
Thank you, John, and come down and fish anytime, and we'll catch you some walleye like these that we're cleaning right here.
I would very much like that.
I'm the best jigger around. I'm on a jiggy, 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 jiggy. Jig me up a walleye right now.
I'm Bob Loomis, and I fish for walleye. Sometimes when I'm out on the water, I feel like a destroyer captain hunting for targets with my electronics. I'm not hunting submarines, though. I'm hunting fish, and when I find that big one on the fish finder, I want to make sure she's going to bite. That's where the Smile Blade Slow Death Rig from Max Lure comes in. The Smile Blade spins and flashes at ultra slow speeds, and the one-of-a-kind red hook keeps that bait moving in a way the fish can't resist. It's the Smile Blade Slow Death Rig. You're the destroyer. This is your depth charge. Only from Max Lure.
The road is calling you to experience one of Oregon's 7 wonders, the Wallowas. So grab your camping equipment and fishing gear and head out to Northeast Oregon, where you'll find the views are endless, the air crisp and clean, and the water's cold and clear. Set up camp by the shores of Wallowa Lake or in the heart of the Wallowa-Whitman National Forest. Take your fishing gear and cast your bait into the deep waters of Wallowa Lake, or roll your fly into one of the eddies of the many freestone creeks and rivers teeming with fish. This summer, take the road that leads to wonders. It begins at WallowaCountyChamber.com.
Psst, yeah, you, the guide, outfitter, or outdoors business owner who's listening to Northwestern Outdoors Radio. Have you ever thought of becoming a sponsor of our show? We've got local sponsor opportunities at all 50 of the stations that carry Northwestern Outdoors every week, and we've got some network opportunities too. If the outdoors is your business, we can help you with your advertising needs. Contact me, John Cruz, through our website at northwesternoutdoors.com. That's northwesternoutdoors.com, helping you get the word out about your outdoors company.
We're back with John Cruz on Northwestern Outdoors Radio.
It's time for another Max Minute.
Fish on!
Brought to you every week by Max Lure Company. With us here today is Ray Bailey, very well-known and longtime fishing guide that operates in Northeast Washington. And you spend a lot of your time fishing Lake Roosevelt. And what are you fishing for when you're out there, Ray?
Kokanee and rainbows.
So kokanees and rainbows, and I know you're on the Max Pro staff. You know, what Max products do you like to use when you're targeting these fish?
Cha-chas and the kokanee killers.
All right, let's go ahead and talk through this a little bit more. And the kokanee killers, you know, exactly how are you setting up and where are you finding these fish?
This time of year, we're targeting the top 10 feet of water. We're baiting the things with corn and maggots, and that makes a difference. Half ounce of weight on front of your Dodgers.
So let's go ahead and turn our attention to the rainbow trout, because I understand we're talking some pretty quality rainbows. How big are these things on the average?
The average rainbows this time of year are 17 to 20 inches.
Those are some nice fish. So let's go ahead and talk about catching those. What sort of Max product are you using and how are you fishing it?
The same thing, the cha-chas, the kokanee killers, and then we throw in a worm for bait instead of the maggots and corn.
Are we still fishing this upper water column, the top 10 feet?
Yes, we're still in the top 10 feet of water.
So you could literally have 2 rods out in the boat, assuming that you've either got a 2-pole endorsement or you got 2 anglers there, one fishing for trout, one fishing for kokanee, and have equal success.
Yes, and as soon as you figure out which one's working, then you switch everything to that item and go to town.
There you go, folks. Lake Roosevelt, great place to fish in Northeast Washington, and now you know how to catch both rainbows and kokanee when you're there. Ray, thanks for telling us all about it during this week's Max Minute.
Okay, thank you.
Looking for the ultimate cooking machine for your backyard or patio? Look no further than Camp Chef's new pellet grill and smoker. With user-friendly features like an auto ignition, digital readouts, and internal meat temperature sensors, it's easy to smoke the tastiest salmon, ribs, brisket, and turkey you'll ever eat. And an innovative system makes cleanup a snap. Everyone will want the food you're cooking on your Camp Chef pellet grill and smoker. The quality smoker that's second to none. Find out more at campchef.com. Camp Chef, the way to cook outdoors.
Pheasants Forever is working hard every day to ensure there's more wildlife habitat for the future. To join us, go to pheasantsforever.org.
It's a great time to go fishing, and whether you're heading to the lake for trout, to the saltwater for salmon, or fishing the Columbia for Chinook or steelhead, the Real News has got you covered. The columnists at the Real News are just like you, die-hard anglers. Better still, they share their expertise to help you have a great time on the water. The Real News has been going strong for 26 years and prides itself on being Washington's only sport fishing newspaper. Look for your copy at local sporting goods retailers or subscribe online at therealnews.com.
Hi, I'm Craig Boddington. I've written about hunting for 40 years, much of it in bear country. I trust my life to bear spray because the research is in. It stopped bears 92% of the time and prevented injury 98% of the time. Bear spray requires less accuracy and won't harm your companions or the bear. Carry bear spray in bear country. Keep it accessible and practice.
Welcome back to Northwestern Outdoors Radio. We're heading to the Dalles, Oregon this weekend to tell you about outdoor recreation, and we've got a great guy to talk about bicycling, not just in the Dalles, but around it as well. With us here to tell us more, Chad Sperry. He is with Breakaway Promotions. He is an avid cyclist, an avid runner, and through Breakaway Promotions, he organizes events that encompass both of these passions. Chad, welcome to the show.
Thank you, John. Thanks for having me on.
Chad, let's go ahead and talk first off about a bicycling opportunity right in the Dalles itself. I understand that there's a paved trail right along the river.
That's correct, John. We've got a beautiful trail. It's great, caters to the families and recreational cyclists from beginner to intermediate. It starts out at the Columbia Gorge Discovery Center on the west side of town, and it's a beautiful trail. It's paved all the way, and it meanders along the Columbia River, right on the edge and the banks of the river itself, and it goes right along the Columbia for about 10 miles, heads out to the riverfront park and marina out there, and just beautiful views and vistas, not a lot of elevation gain or loss. So again, it is a great venue for beginner cyclists, recreational cyclists, kids on bikes, but it is close to all vehicular and motor traffic, so it makes it for a safe venue also for these folks.
Oh, I like that a lot. Now, I know this trail has been a work in progress, and it basically goes, like you said, from the Discovery Center on the west end of town towards the dam on the east end of town. Is it all done now? Is it all paved, or there's still some parts that are gravel?
There is. You can go past Riverfront Park for another 2 miles. There's one section that's about a mile long that is gravel, and then it's kind of like a little footpath trail that's dirt and gravel that goes and connects over to what's called Water's Edge, which is the big health and wellness center by the bridge across the Columbia River. And then eventually they're going to finish that off, and it connected all the way to the Dalles Dam. And I believe at that point it'll be about a 16-mile trail connecting two very nice visitor opportunities with the Dalles Dam and the Columbia Gorge Discovery Center.
Oh, sounds fantastic. All right, so if you're staying in the Dalles or just visiting for the day, there's a great opportunity. But you are blessed with a couple of really neat rail trails that are not too far from town. The first one basically starts at the mouth of the Deschutes River at the Deschutes State Park. Tell our listeners about this one.
Yeah, that's a great one, especially in the springtime when things are a little bit wet and soggy over there in the Willamette Valley. This one is even further east of the Dalles, so it typically only gets about 10 inches of rain a year out there, and they get a lot of sunshine, and things are really green in that March, April, May time frame, even part of June. You get wildflowers out there. It starts at the mouth of the Deschutes State Park there, and it's an old rail bed. There was actually a railway competition or a battle to see who could lay the first rail line along the Deschutes from the Columbia River down into Bend in Central Oregon. The folks that were on the east side of the Deschutes River lost that battle, and so there's no longer a rail line there. There is a rail line on the west side of the river, and so we benefit from the fact that we've got this fairly flat rail bed, beautiful gravel, beautiful views, especially in the springtime. You see a lot of bird activity, a lot of eagles that winds along the Deschutes River, and that goes up about 20 miles from the mouth up to where it ends and terminates in an old ranch that's up there.
Wow. So you can make a real full day of it by going there and back for a 40-mile trip. And folks, if you haven't been to the Deschutes River before, it's one of my favorite places in the world to steelhead fish. And I'll usually hike up east side for a couple miles, and I just love fishing this big, classic stream with the canyon on both sides. It's just gorgeous country. Chad is absolutely right about this. So that's a great destination. Another rail trail, though, is found in Washington, basically west of the Dalles, over at the mouth of the Klickitat River. And that one doesn't get nearly the press, does it?
No, it doesn't. It's a very much hidden gem. It starts down there by the small town of Lyle, and then it connects all the way up to the town of Klickitat, and even there's some of the old logging roads that go up that river drainage valley that even go further than that, some of the old Champion lumber roadways as well. So you can go probably close to 30, 40 miles starting from down in Lyle all the way up past Klickitat. And again, there's another one where it's a very scenic, beautiful river. It winds and twists through this canyon. Springtime is another great opportunity. However, it doesn't get quite as hot on the Klickitat River as it does out there in the Deschutes. So summer months are also a great opportunity to ride along there. Again, if you go at the right seasons, the bald eagle population along that Klickitat is very impressive. And so you can get some great bird watching opportunities, some great fishing opportunities up there, and just a very scenic and beautiful location. There is a little bit more elevation gain on that one. The Klickitat River takes a little bit higher path and elevation than the Deschutes or that riverfront trail. However, it's still not a huge grade to pull. It's only several hundred feet in over the course of that 20 to 30 mile stretch.
Oh, that sounds fantastic. And folks, the Click, as a lot of people call it, is a beautiful little stream. Another good fishing stream, by the way. But in terms of the scenery, one thing I love about the Klickitat is the oak savanna. You have these basically stands of oak trees that you find here in this little part of south central Washington that you generally don't find anywhere else in Washington state. So it's a unique opportunity. And with oaks, you're going to find lots of squirrels, and those are always fun to watch too. So consider cycling up the Klickitat, cycling down the Deschutes, or again, right in the town of Dalles on the Riverfront Trail. You're listening to Northwestern Outdoors Radio. We're talking to Chad Sperry with Breakaway Promotions about cycling opportunities here in the Columbia River Gorge. Chad, let's talk about road cycling. I know that Dalles has actually published a brochure that suggests some really nice cycle rides or road trips that you can take right around the Dalles.
Yeah, it is true. We have a map that you can pick up at the Dalles Chamber of Commerce right down there in downtown, and it gives very detailed information as to great locations to park and begin your ride, as well as detailed maps and elevation contour profiles. So you can take a look and see if the ride that you're going to be doing it has a lot of climbing and is very challenging, very technical, or if it's something that's going to be a little bit more flat and mellow and a little bit more geared towards a beginner rider out there. There's several loops on the east side of town. It's a great favorite for the early season training and riding because you get a lot less moisture out there and it stays dry. So when Portland's getting a heavy dose of rain, we a lot of times are getting sunshine out there in the east, and it winds through the green farmlands and wheatlands. To the south, there's again some beautiful orchard-type loops that you can go up through the cherry orchards and apple orchards that make the Dalles famous with their agricultural produce. And then on the west side of town, you can go along the old historic Columbia River Highway, and that is a very picturesque and scenic route. A lot of those sections of road just west of the Dalles, between the Dalles and Mosier, are used by a number of automobile manufacturers for shooting their commercials because it has the old stone and mortar guardrails and wood rails along it, and it's just a very cool historic highway with beautiful views and vistas like the Rowena Lookout, as well as the Tom McCall Park and Preserve up by the Rowena Lookout is a huge favorite for wildflowers and doing some of your general hiking up in the gorge when everything is in full bloom in late April, May, and June.
Wow. Chad, I think I know you've got me hooked, and I suspect you've got several of our listeners hooked as well. Folks, cycling around the Dalles and in the Columbia River Gorge, a lot of opportunities here, as you've just heard. Let's talk about your website, breakawaypromotions.com. You basically put together and promote cycle races and marathons, don't you?
Yeah, we are pretty much West Coast based, do a number of events in the gorge, but we also travel up and down the West Coast. Our company specifically focuses on cycling as kind of our core events that we do, but we have branched out into a number of marathons, half marathons, and we've even done some triathlons as well. We do a lot of work for the U.S. Olympic Committee, running their national championship cycling events like the U.S. Mountain Bike National Championships we did over in Sun Valley and the Masters Road Cycling National championships down in Salt Lake City, Utah, and so forth. So we do travel quite a bit for that, and it's a great opportunity. Again, it's great to be based in the gorge there with so many beautiful roads and such a great home-based location for our company. We find lots of inspiration both through mountain biking and road cycling around that particular area.
Well, there you go. Folks, that's Chad Sperry with Breakaway Promotions. Go ahead and check out his website at breakawaypromotions.com. And if you're in the Dalles and you want to pick up that cycling map, go ahead and stop by the Chamber of Commerce. They're at 404 West 2nd Street. They've got a website, too. It's thedalleschamber.com. That's thedalleschamber.com. And you'll find all sorts of fun things you can do outdoors there. Chad, thanks for taking the time to talk to us on Northwestern Outdoors Radio.
Thank you very much, John.
Pheasants Forever is working hard every day to ensure there's more wildlife habitat for the future. To join us, go to pheasantsforever.org.
Good hunters know before you take that shot, you've got to see the whole picture. Now, the best way to do that is with a spotting scope, binoculars, or a rifle scope, but it's got to be from Leupold. Now, Leupold is a Northwest company with a reputation that stretches across the world for making superior optics. The kind of optics that allow you to see what you need before making that stock or pulling that trigger. Look for Leupold Optics at your local Cabela's store, Dick's Sporting Goods, or online at leupold.com. Leupold, America's optical authority.
Welcome back to Northwestern Outdoors Radio. It's time for news and reports from the field, brought to you every week by Mardon Resort, located at Eastern Washington's Potholes Reservoir. Cast and blast season is well underway here, and I got to take part in it last weekend. Tell you what, the duck hunting was good, the fishing was good, and you are missing out if you don't head over here to enjoy great waterfowl hunting, pheasant hunting, goose hunting, walleye fishing, bass fishing. It's all going on in and around Potholes Reservoir and Mardon Resort. Find out more by going to their website at mardonresort.com. That's mardonresort.com, where the fish bite, but we don't. We start off our news by telling you about a Washington Department of Fish and Wildlife meeting about wolves that did not go too well in Colville. From the Associated Press, we learned an October 7th meeting between the Department of Fish and Wildlife, local government officials, and residents about wolf management in Northeast Washington was, to say the least, very contentious. 200 people attended the meeting in an area where wolf packs have been killing sheep and livestock owned by area ranchers. 12 of 15 of Washington's confirmed wolf packs are found in this part of the state, and many of the people attending the meeting have had enough. Ferry County Commissioner Mike Blankenship and several other people attending the meeting suggested the Department of Fish and Wildlife trap some of the wolves in this area and move them to Western Washington, a location they are not currently found in the area that has the most support from the public for reintroducing wolves. Steve Potzingera, the Eastern Regional Director for WDFW, said relocating the wolves would be expensive and require both state and federal reviews, making this an unlikely option. Others attending the meeting wanted to use the 3S method of wolf management, that being shoot, shovel, and shut up, a suggestion applauded by several people in the crowd, but something the state has no plans on endorsing as they attempt to manage the reintroduction of wolves into Washington state. In the end, it would be fair to say the Department of Fish and Wildlife got an earful, but it's unclear what, if anything, will change when it comes to dealing with wolves in Washington state as the population continues to grow. In other wolf news, it turns out that story Toby Bridges with Lobo Watch posted on his Facebook page about running over 2 wolves on I-90 near the border of Montana and Idaho may not be true. As you might recall from last week's show, Toby Bridges posted on his Lobo Watch Facebook page a story about how he was driving along Interstate 90 in Montana, approaching the border of Idaho, when a couple of elk emerged onto the freeway being chased by wolves. Bridges, who makes it clear on his Facebook page he does not think much of wolves at all, said he accidentally ran over 2 of them. To support his story, Bridges posted pictures of one of the dead wolves, and one of those pictures had his vehicle in the background. The Montana Department of Fish and Wildlife took the story seriously and launched an investigation. What investigators learned sheds doubt on Bridges' story. First off, they could not find any witnesses to corroborate the story. Second, they found the road-killed wolf, but believe it was killed long before the day Bridges said he ran it over. Third, they searched the hillside where the incident supposedly took place. They found no evidence of the second wolf that Bridges said he injured and was later killed by its fellow wolf pack members. And last but not least, a Montana Highway Patrol accident reconstructionist looked at the photo of Bridges' vehicle next to the wolf and concluded no collision occurred. In other words, Bridges' story appears to be made up. Bridges, however, is sticking to his tale and posts a long rebuttal on his Facebook page where he insists the story he told is true. I'll leave it to you to be the judge of that. And with that, let's head back to the Dalles in the Columbia River Gorge.
Next up on Northwestern Outdoors Radio, we are surrounded by raptors. I've got kestrels, I've got great horned owls, I've got hawks that are within feet of me. Where is this place, you might ask? It is the Columbia Gorge Discovery Center in the Dalles. It turns out they've got a raptor education program here. With us here to tell us more about it is Bambi Foy, the raptor education coordinator. Bambi, this is really cool stuff. Tell me about this program.
We have had our program here up and running for about 7 years, and we have 9 birds in our collection altogether. They're all non-releasable. They've all been damaged in some way that prevents the release back into the wild. And so they come here and we turn them into educators and ambassadors, and then we present them twice a day in our theater or out in our river gallery, and we do programs with them. And sometimes we'll fly one of our birds, and we have them at 11 and 2 every day for the visitors that come in 7 days a week right now. So you can come in and see them weekends and weekdays.
Well, folks, I've actually seen quite a few of these programs over the years while hosting the show, and Bambi puts on one of the best ones, and she's very knowledgeable, she's very personable. But another thing I really like about this show, folks, is that it's very intimate. In the theater, I'm sure it's not quite so intimate, but when you're out there in the gallery, you're literally just a few feet away from a Cooper's hawk or a great horned owl. I mean, as close as you'll ever get to one. It's just really cool to go ahead and be that close to some of these magnificent birds. Now, you've got some eagles outside in a big enclosure. Is that something that folks get to see too?
Yes, we do eagle tours along with our bird presentations inside our museum, and then we'll take them outside and do a presentation with the eagles as they view the eagles. We have 2, a male and a female. Again, both are with us because they're damaged. They are partial amputees. But, I believe everyone should have the chance to see our national symbol up close at least once in their lifetime. It's been our national symbol this last 4th of July, 238 years, I believe. And it's one of the greatest success stories of North America's time, bringing back our national symbol from the verge of extinction in the lower 48s. And we've done a fantastic job. And I hope that we stay on that path. So by showing people our birds up close and personal, we hope that they gain a better respect for them and walk away with that thought as well.
I agree completely. Now, one more thing I want to touch on here. Folks, you're going to come in here, you're going to see these birds up close, and you might be inspired to go see some more of these raptors. It turns out there's quite a few raptors in this area. We're right on the Columbia River. We're right near places where fish are spawning and available for these raptors to prey on. What are some of the birds that are commonly seen around here?
All right. Well, of course, we have the bald eagles because we have lots of water. And in December, January, February, they come down by the hundreds from Canada and Alaska to gorge themselves here in the gorge. And then they return to their nesting areas in Canada and Alaska to start the nesting process. So we'll take people over to the Klickitat area where the Balfour Park is, where the Klickitat and the Columbia meet. That's a great area for a lot of different birds to gather in that time of year because the river runs up the canyon, narrows, and so it's easier for them. We also have golden eagles here, peregrine falcons, red tails, the owls of different kinds like your great horn, your saw-whet, your screech owl, barred owl, spotted owl. So we have a lot of variety here. Swainson's hawk, ferruginous hawk out on the plains, which I find most Americans have never heard of. It's the largest hawk in North America, magnificent creature out here on our prairies and plains. So if you're out there, be sure you look for them. And so, yeah, the vultures, of course. And
yes. Lots and lots of those turkey vultures out here, and lots of osprey too, of course.
Right. The turkey vultures and the osprey are seasonal here. So if you're from the south, they're going to be there year-round. But up here in the north, they leave in the fall, return in the spring, which is a sign of spring for us.
So, folks, hopefully we've whetted your appetite to come here to the Gorge Discovery Center and take in one of the raptor programs offered every day, 7 days a week, folks, at 11 a.m. and 2 p.m., and maybe participate in some of these special tours they do as well with the eagles and maybe over towards the Klickitat River. And by the way, another nearby eagle viewing opportunity is actually offered by the Dalles Dam every winter, and you can go ahead and check with them to find out more about that. And as you just heard, there's lots of bird watching opportunities right here around the Dalles. Let's go ahead and give people a website so they can find out more about planning their visit to the Gorge Discovery Center, because there's a lot more to see here too.
GorgeDiscovery.org.
That's gorgediscovery.org, gorgediscovery.org. Open 7 days a week in the Dalles, Oregon. Come on out here, check it out, see the raptors, and see a whole lot more. Thanks for telling us all about it on Northwestern Outdoors Radio.
Thank you, John. Thanks for being here today.
You demand quality performance from your binoculars, whether you use them in the field, on the water, or at a stadium. But you don't want to spend a fortune. That's where the BX McKenzie binoculars from Leupold come in. These armored, waterproof binoculars are both comfortable and dependable. Look for your McKenzie binoculars at quality sporting goods retailers near you, to include your Cabela's, Sportsman's Warehouse, or Northwest Bodmart stores. BX McKenzie, bringing your world into sharper focus, only from Leupold.
Today's line of portable camp stoves from Camp Chef have come a long way from your father's propane stove, featuring matchless ignition, more cooking power, and in some cases a built-in grill or extra burner. Look for the complete line of Mountain Series stoves at your local sporting goods store or online at campchef.com. Camp Chef, the way to cook outdoors.
We're back with one last cast from John Cruz on Northwestern Outdoors Radio.
We've had a wonderful stay here in the Dalles, Oregon, and as you've heard during this show, we spent some time talking about bicycling around here. We spent some time talking fishing around here, and we've also talked about wildlife watching too. While we've been here, we've stayed at the Shilo Inn. It's a wonderful hotel, great location. You got great views of the river and of the Dalles Dam too. With us here to tell us more about the Shilo Inn is General Manager Heather Baker. Heather, tell our listeners a little bit more about this great hotel that you manage.
We have a great property here. As you mentioned, the views of the river and the dam. Many of our rooms do have patios that you can sit and enjoy the outdoors and the views. We have 112 rooms.
You know, that's funny because it doesn't seem like it's that big of a hotel. It actually seems like almost like a small boutique hotel. So I'm surprised there's 112 rooms. And you've got an outdoor pool. And I like the fact that you've got a restaurant and lounge too.
We do, and we offer our guests a complimentary breakfast each morning of their stay there at the restaurant.
In fact, just enjoyed it. Very tasty. Had ham, egg, toast, and great way to start my day. And if you pull in after a long evening, you can go ahead and grab a drink and grab dinner too. And you also have conference facilities too, don't you?
Yes, we do. The Columbia Portage Grill handles the conferences. They have a large space, ballrooms, small meeting rooms, small boardrooms.
You know, something else I really like about Shilo Inns is you offer a veterans discount. That's really a good deal. I've actually taken advantage of that myself when I've been on the road. And that's across all Shilo Inns all throughout the year, isn't it?
Yes, it is. All of the Shilos offer and honor our veterans.
One more question. I know being a manager of a hotel, people are always coming up and saying, gee, what can I do around here? And some people want to go ahead and have fun outdoors. So we've talked about some things, but where do you like to send people who are just looking for a nice day outside?
Columbia Hills State Park.
It's a great choice. And folks, it's really just across the river from here in Washington. And it's got Horse Thief Reservoir, which is regularly stocked with trout. You've actually got great wildflowers that bloom in the spring and opportunities to hike and to see those. And there's also even Indian petroglyphs. And they actually offer tours to go ahead and explain about those at certain times during the year. So excellent choice, Columbia Hills State Park. We got to go, but before we do, we better give folks a website so they can find out more about booking a stay here at the Shilo Inn in the Dalles.
That'll be shiloinns.com.
That's shiloinns.com. Their tagline is affordable excellence, and they live up to it. Heather, thanks for a great stay, and thanks for sharing this with us on Northwestern Outdoors Radio.
Thank you very much.
Let's run through a couple of upcoming events before we go. With Halloween in mind, you might want to take the kids on a haunted zombie hike at Riverside State Park near Spokane on Saturday the 25th. The half-mile hike is sure to result in some scary fun. It's taking place from 6 to 9 p.m. Admission runs from $5 to $10 depending on your age, and no Discover Pass is required for the park during this event. Kids under 12 do have to be accompanied by an adult. A similar event is taking place in Bellevue, Idaho on October 29th and the 30th. That's when you can wander through the Bellevue Haunted Forest located at the Howard Preserve. During daylight hours, it's a family-friendly affair, but after dark, it becomes a bit more frightening. Find out about this ghoulishly fun walk at BellevueHauntedForest.com. Something less scary but very tasty is taking place October 24th in Ennis, Montana, when the annual Hunters Feed and Wildlife Game Cook-Off celebrates the opening of hunting season in the Madison Valley. Check it out and sample exotic wild game dishes in front of the shops on Main Street and vote for your favorite dish too. Find out more at ennischamber.com and bring a healthy appetite. Speaking of food, hiking, and fun, Alderbrook Resort on Hood Canal in Western Washington is offering wild mushroom hikes every Thursday this month from 4:30 to 6 p.m. You'll learn how to forage for wild mushrooms and prepare them for the table. This event is free to resort guests and costs only $10 if you're not staying the night. Contact Alderbrook Resort on Hood Canal for more details. That's all for this week. We hope you enjoyed our visit to the Dalles and the scenic Columbia River Gorge bordering Oregon and Washington. You can find out more about staying here and having fun here outdoors by going to the Chamber of Commerce website at thedalleschamber.com. That's thedallechambers.com for the Dalles, Oregon, a great destination. While you're on the web, check out our website too. That's northwesternoutdoors.com. You'll find links to find out more about our guests on the show and audio from last week's show too. In addition to that, we've got a Facebook page, Northwestern Outdoors Radio. Like us, follow us, keep up on all the outdoors news that's happening here in the great Northwest. October continues to bring lots of great opportunities to hunt, fish, hike, bike, and enjoy all that autumn has to offer. So until next time, take care, God bless, and make it a point to spend some time outdoors.